Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast. Fantastic day today. I've got a really interesting guest, Doug Powell. Doug and his partner run a company in Frederick, Maryland, and he's a business owner who's been in business for 2 years. And I thought it would be interesting to have him on as a guest to talk about the journey he's gone through, the things he's learned, things he's doing great because he's doing some things really well, and the things where he might still be working at it, let's just say. And I want you to listen to this episode and see if there's any parallels to the way you're running the business, or if you've already gotten through some of these issues. Sometimes it's helpful to remember what you worked your way through to appreciate where you are now. So Doug is very funny. It's going to be a very high energy interview. I know that for sure. And listen, we'll see you on the other side. Mr. Doug Powell, how are you?
Great. How are you today?
I'm good. It's really nice to be back with you.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Last time we talked, you were in the middle of daddy duty. You had kids bouncing all over the place.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets quite overwhelming in my house, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're doing this interview now at a more reasonable time. Thanks for being flexible with me.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, the kid's in school. I doubt she's gonna come busting in the room anytime soon. My wife might. You never know.
You never know. Cameo appearance.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. At any point.
That's right.
For people watching this as a YouTube video, Doug has a Peloton or some sort of bike behind him there. So
it is. Yeah.
At least you're not using it to hang clothes on.
No, I took the clothes off before we started the call. And that's true.
Busted.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? They'll know, but I'm going to just take the clothes off.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Hey, I'm glad to have you here. You and I met because you host a podcast as well, which I'm sure will. What's the name of the podcast before we get started?
It's called the Modern Electrician Podcast.
I take it you're an electrician.
I'm an electrician, master electrician in Maryland. I am a modern one too. Yeah, to some extent.
Yeah. Well, you and I were casting around trying to figure out a topic, and the topic that we came with today was really just your journey on being a relatively new business owner and everything you're learning in that process. What worked and what didn't. So that's where I'm hoping we take this.
That sounds great.
Excellent. Well, let me start with this. Doug Powell, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these trades contractors all around the world?
That's a great question. My name's Doug. I'm from a small town in Illinois. Grew up in the 90s, went in the military right out of high school, Marine Corps, did that. Okay. And then I went straight into stand-up comedy. So I was a stand-up. I did right out of the Marine Corps.
That's a hard transition. Or did you learn about it in the Marines?
No, I think I was always the funny kid, and I always thought I'd be a comedian. But then, like right at the end of high school, I didn't know what to do, and it wasn't college. And I was raised by tradespeople. My dad owns a body shop. There are masons and carpenters and mechanics and all kinds of people in my family. So I think there was a part of me that wanted to do something else. And so, and I was always the funny kid. So I got into stand-up, and I did stand-up for 13 years in and around the DC, Baltimore. I hit it pretty hard for a while. Yeah. And then I got then I think I hit about 27, 28, and I realized I just didn't know how to do anything functional. I could walk into a room full of people I don't know and make them laugh and tell stories and things like that. And that's functional for sure. But as far as like how to build something or how a house worked, I didn't have any clue. And so I got really fascinated first with gardening and farming. And then some years later found my way into the electrical trade. Love electrical work and working with my hands. And I'm a master electrician in Maryland now and have co-owned Lumen Brothers Electric with my business partner, Josh, for 3 years now.
Yeah, fantastic. And what's your specialty there? Residential, commercial?
We're a residential company, and we're still kind of in the process of figuring out where we really want to specialize. And that's literally where we find ourselves today, is kind of like, how do we do it? What do we do?
Doug, you're on the phone with a business coach. Let's make the most of this.
I know. I'm telling you.
And maybe we should have Josh on here for a 2-part interview, but
yes, we should.
Yeah.
Well, maybe when we have you on our show, it could be the two of us and we could do it as talking about business coaching or something. We'll figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's a good point. The conversation about business coaching isn't about business coaching.
Yeah.
It's about the path to get where you want to get.
Right.
You know, for some people it's money, for some people it's time, you know, the flexibility. Family is important to all of us regardless.
Right. Sure.
One of my vice presidents once said to me, and it was a good observation, although at the time he was using it because he wanted to take some extra time off. So it wasn't, but I think the message was good. The timing was poor, but he's like, Dom, none of us are in business for business reasons. We're all in business for personal reasons.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know?
Yeah.
So balance.
I think that's a great point, you know? Really great idea. I mean, yeah. We are all, you have to go to work unless you're born independently wealthy. And then I don't know what you do, but you're like, you have to get up and go to work. So I just am constantly spending my time trying to figure out the way to earn myself more freedom and more money. And I like to create, and I like to, I've always started clubs, you know, when I was like a kid, my favorite thing to do was start a club, you know? So that's all I'm still doing.
What kind of clubs?
All like mostly ninja clubs. I was like 90% sure I was going to be a professional ninja when I was 8 or 9. Didn't pan out.
I don't want to ask how that's going because officially you're not supposed to tell me if you're a ninja.
Yeah, I'm an electrician. That's you know, I stopped ninjaing a long time ago. But yeah, mostly ninja clubs.
The crossover is that you're very quiet when you climb the ladder.
That's true. You wouldn't know I was there.
Yeah. Actually, funny, not funny ladder story. I used to have a painting company, and I hired these guys, and they were from a frat house, you know, at a university close by where I was painting. And I thought these guys are like, they're just rocks. They're muscular, they're strong, and they're going to be great. So I put the one guy on the one side of the house, and he was going to scrape and prep it. Do you know what it sounds like when a ladder shakes, an aluminum ladder shakes? It makes that tick, 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 tick. I heard that coming from the side of the house. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And so I go over to see him, and he's on the second rung, and he is shaking like a leaf, and it's just.
Oh no!
And he goes, Dom, I don't think I could do this job.
Oh wow!
Like, you kidding me? You could lift this house, and you can't climb the ladder.
Yeah. It's those little things you sometimes don't learn about yourself until you're in an experience, and you're like, well, shit. Turns out, dang it, Dom. You say, well, dang. I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah, and now they know. Yeah,
great
at my expense.
Yeah.
So listen, let's go back. You're how long in business now?
All right. So we started in January 2020. Was a really good year to start a business.
It wasn't 2008. I mean,
yeah, you know, it wasn't bad. It actually worked out pretty well. But yeah, we've been in business about 3 years now.
Okay. And tell me a little bit more about the kind of business you guys do. I take it it's residential.
Yeah. It's residential.
Is it new construction? Is it?
It's not. It's mostly project work. It's you know, existing structures. We live in an historic town in Frederick, so a lot of historic work, a lot of knob and tube remediation, and then a lot of like lighting design and do a ton of EV chargers and surge protection, heavy ups, you name it, that sort of thing. So we're really trying to figure out what we want to specialize in, what market we really want to target. Yeah. Because, you know, we find that it's just the hardest part with residential, or one of the hardest parts with residential is, you know, you're working with a person's budget. And sometimes, I mean, everybody's on a budget. And so Michael Stellman is an electrician in New York. And we had him on the show last week, and he had a great quote. He said, if you don't specialize, you are always competing with the lowest price guys. No matter what you do, you're always up. It's a great point. So it's like, unless you have something specifically specialized that you offer. So we're working on figuring that out, what that looks like, what that would be.
You know, it's interesting you bring it up, and the fear. I've had this fear as well. And let me wrap up this story that's not supposed to be comedy, but you're going to see where I'm going with this.
Okay.
It's very hard to specialize because it feels like you're eliminating all of the other things you could do.
Yeah.
Let me switch this around and take personal responsibility. I found it very hard for me to specialize because it felt to me like I was eliminating the rest of the opportunity in my life or business, right? So you know that you're here on the show called Profit Tool Belt.
Right.
Right. And that's a show for general trades, contractors, you know, really anything from a land developer or a builder down. If I say down, I just mean in the cascading series of trades that need to come through to finish a home or finish a commercial building or civil job, right?
Right.
what you might not know, I have another podcast, and I want you to think about how specialized the name of that podcast is and the kind of fear it put in the heart of my wife when I said, "Hey, honey, I'm starting a podcast and it's called Cabinet Maker Profit System."
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's super specialized.
You got to be kidding me. She's like, "You think the domain's available?" I'm like, "Probably." Now, scary, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yet what happens is it allows me to focus. And I've always worked in the trades business, so I'm comfortable with finished wood trades as well as these trades. But the people in the cabinetry space really know that I know that space because of that. Yeah. But it allows the conversation to get bigger and wider. And so for yourself as an electrician, for anybody else out there listening, whether you're a roofer or a renovator, it's okay to say you do kitchen renovations, because yes, you can do a pergola if it comes up. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but you're in the door.
Yeah.
If you're called general construction and I'll give anything a shot.com,
right. Sure.
You're probably less likely to get the phone call.
I think so. And I also think that when you're looking for a specific type thing, you're looking for the people who do that specific type thing the best, or have the best reviews, or best recommendations. And so I agree. It doesn't mean you can't do other things, but having something that you try to gear toward, and something that has ideally a high profit margin, that is it just, we're trying to find the things that we like to do that makes sense and make us money, and attract the kind of clientele that on the residential side is really important to try to find, which is they're not fishing. They're not like calling you, asking what your hourly rate is. They're not calling and saying, "Hey, I've purchased all the materials. Can you come do this?"
Install it. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because like I said, everybody's on a budget, and there are all kinds of electricians, and every client will find who they're looking for sure. We just don't make money on jobs like that. And we're learning that.
Do you mind if I go into business coach mode for you for a moment?
Man, please. Yeah, please.
And I say this respectfully, but I've counted. You might not have counted. That's twice now that you have circled around who's our perfect customer.
Yeah.
And I want to remind you or let you know that's the right question to be asking.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're on the right path.
Okay.
Because understanding the right customer, I can never remember who did this quote. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want people to think I made it up, because I heard it from somewhere else. But for right now, go to bed tonight thinking I made it up. When I understand my customer's problem better than they do, they know I have the answer.
Right.
Right. And so just as an example, you mentioned EV chargers.
Mm-hmm.
So EV chargers are a thing. Mm-hmm. It's a thing, right? I don't know if that's your perfect customer, but as soon as you tell me you need an EV charger, I kind of know your age. I kind of know you're more on the green side. You're on the recycling side. You're on the, I kind of know a few things about you.
Right.
If you're already doing a job, as an example, in a home, and it doesn't matter, maybe they're asking you to hang these fixtures that they bought at a garage sale. What an easy upsell to say, "Hey, have you thought about getting an EV vehicle?" And it's just a conversation starter. They go, "Yeah, probably in the next 2 years." While I'm here, I'm already going to be messing around with the breaker box. Why dirty your house twice? If you're thinking about doing it in the next 2 years, why don't we have it turns out you've got space. Yeah. Do you want to put it in now? And they might say yes. And now on top of that, the other thing that you've said twice is everybody's on a budget. So if everybody's on a budget, do I have a solution to that? And so can I ask, do you offer financing?
No, we don't. We're very small. And that's something we'll talk about too, is in the what works, what doesn't work, and how that relates to the size of your operation, all the things that you learn once you dive head first into the pool and you're like, oh, there's all kinds of stuff I didn't see coming.
Did you know that providing financing to your clients doesn't relate to you? It relates to their creditworthiness.
Oh, no. I mean, we haven't even had the conversation about like whether or not we would finance projects for clients. We know friends of ours own a solar company in town, and they offer financing. They're enormous. But we just haven't considered it. Yeah. So
if you just Google the search term Maryland home renovation financing, a ton of options will come up for you. A previous guests in the show have been from Hearth Financial, Acorn Financial. So
Okay.
there's companies out there and they do automatic approvals for clients, just right from your iPad or from your phone, from
Hmm.
their iPad or phone. So you can
Interesting.
offer financing. Just it's going to take you an afternoon or less to go set it up with.
That's
And I'm not promoting Hearth or Acorn. I'm just saying that
sure.
you'll find companies like that.
Okay. And it's that simple. Just basically set it up with a bank and offer it to your clients. They provide the rest.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That's good to
Now
know.
we have to, we still want to make sure that we're going after the right clients. We aren't
Right.
trying to finance a $30 new outlet box. Wasted your time.
That's hilarious. The interest is going to be outrageous.
Yeah, see, but that's not so. There are people who will hear us talk about financing and say, look, my own personal belief, my values is I don't finance things.
Yeah.
And so why would anybody else finance? And I don't.
Yeah.
Further, right. Why would I take a client who wanted to finance something that's $1,200? That seems to me to be the wrong client. But allow me to say this. First of all, you're listening to a business coach's podcast. So what did you expect I was going to say?
Right.
Right. Number two is what I believe is not important. What my client believes is important. Now, I don't want to go against anybody's values here, but I'm not sending you to a casino to buy cigars. Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here is offering options for clients.
Sure.
And if our client wants the option, I should be able to provide that so that I could truly help them. Because if they're just trying to get by with a $1,200 repair, but they need a $2,400 install, I'm better serving them by helping them find that financing. And I've probably said enough on it now. If you just Google it in Maryland, you'll find all the solutions you need.
I appreciate the insight.
Yeah. What else have you learned then? Sorry, because I cut you off there.
That's all right. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Keep going. You got a head of steam now.
I've always got a head of steam. Once I wake up, I'm rolling. What's worked, what hasn't with our business, you mean? Like kind of on that? Yeah. I mean, so much has worked, so much has not worked. I think for us really, at first, it's like you just want to say yes to everything. That's very typical. You want to make sure you got work, so you want to take work. You price way low because you don't know any better. And you think that, like you just said, that whole philosophy of like getting out of the way that you think about money, it's not your money. It's a head trip to get yourself like, neither of us are business majors. We didn't go to college for it. And most, I think, business people, aren't either.
Nope.
So we're all just out here like swinging and trying. And I think we're just at this point where, well, another thing that hasn't worked is projects too large for us, obviously. Oh, okay. That's been challenging. So we've taken on a couple. We took the first 2 years, we took one a year, and they almost sank us each time. It was like bananas, like heroic project that for some reason, please.
Yeah, no, that's good observation, because now you've done the test twice.
Yeah.
So don't do it a third time.
Right.
But what's the flag that goes off that tells you, this looks like the other two jobs? Can you describe that wrong job for you right now?
Sure. Size, just like scale. Like, we had the first job was a barn that was being built. We were originally asked to just get power. They were having the power company was going to intercept one of their underground single phase lines, and we had to send power 1,200 feet to another transformer, and then another 200 feet to the barn. Okay. 200 amp service. And it was, that was just a remarkable run of conduit. And we had no business doing it because we're not excavators, and it just was this thing where we were
trenching like contractors.
Yeah. It's like, what are we doing? And to make matters worse, we ended up finding out that where we were working there's this like geological phenomenon where it's considered some sort of like Mesozoic terrain where I can't remember how they described it. We looked it up, but it's like about 30 inches down, there is almost a complete sheet of shale. And in order to get our pipes in, we've got to go 36. And they were in this low-lying area where it just was all water. So it was January when we started. It was 1,200 feet to dig.
Oh, no.
30 inches down, we're hitting shale, but we can't see it because the entire trench is a river of water. And as we dig, we're just digging in water. It was brutal. Yeah. And then we're just like, what did we do? Why did we take this on? And then we just had to do it and get it done.
And ultimately, as you probably know, it cost you money.
Oh my God, it killed us. It was brutal. I mean, the fact that we survived it was that was one of the bonuses or pluses that came out of that scenario, because it was like, all right, we definitely thought that was going to take us down, but it didn't. Okay. Like,
Isn't that
good.
funny? Isn't that
Yeah.
funny for an end of job report? Well, it turns out we're in a Mesozoic geographic
Don't
feature.
take projects in a Mesozoic. Yeah, right.
On the plus side, we can help the next oil prospectors figure out where
Yeah,
to find shale oil.
it was absurd. It was just one of those where you're just like the whole time you're in your head, just like, what are you have no business doing what you are doing right now. Like, you are making terrible decisions, and you just don't know any better, because you just see a thing and you're like, let's try it, and that's how you learn. You just hope that you don't, the ship doesn't sink while you're learning.
So,
But
define it's a
yeah.
great story, but now based on that, and I'm sure you have other stories, define for me your perfect customer, and let me give you a little more definition. Your perfect customer lines up like you're looking down the barrel of a rifle. It is what your tooling is, because all of us have individual tooling or machinery or equipment.
Yeah.
What your crew can do. So what the people that you use, or you and your partner are trained to do and really good at, good at.
Yeah.
And then what your client wants.
Yeah.
So line those three things up. What's your perfect customer based on that?
Yeah, it's typically a client who is tech forward to some degree. They either are interested in new ideas, whether it be smart home design, lighting design, things like that. Yeah. They are they don't want to do the electrical work themselves. Sounds silly, but that's such a big one. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I come into a place, somebody will.
Oh no. If I was an electrician, I'd be dead already. Let's just be clear. I'm not an electrician. I'll never be.
Right on. Yeah. There's licking so many
fingers and touching a wire is what I know not to do.
It's less that they can really mess up the electrical systems in their house. That's a problem in itself. But it's also that the mindset of a client who is when you come over to do a proposal, and this has happened so many times, I swing by to take a look at a project and do a consultation, and they're already doing the electrical work. They're doing more than that. It's not permitted. They're pulling walls apart, and they're already like pulling lights off and stuff. And they want me to look at it and provide them with the proposal. And it's just, those aren't the clients. They're not ever, there's no price you could give them except $100 an hour that they're going to say yes to, because like I said, and why I said it, and I circled back to everybody's on a budget, is because in residential, you just see it all the time. It's like, well, it won't work here. It won't work there. These people I won't ever hear back from this person, so we don't spend a lot of time doing that. We're looking for people who have a budget to do the things they want to do. Okay. And are doing things that are, like, for example, one of our concepts for marketing for Lumen Brothers is marketing to lifestyle versus the job.
Perfect. Right.
So instead of saying, hey, we do 240 volt receptacles for whatever, we could say, hey, are you a home brewer? Do you brew at home? Well, you need a setup for that. Are you environmentally friendly? Well, how about a power wall and an EV charger and smart panel? And, so we're looking for people who can make those decisions, that want to get out of your way, and appreciate expertise. Like there's that. I don't mean to be so blunt about people and their budgets, but for us, there's like this wall where it's like, that won't work. And then you meet those clients that are like, I want to do this. I like what you guys do. I've seen your work. Do it. Yeah. What do you charge? And we tell them, and they're like, yes, those are the clients we're looking for.
Those are the clients you want. So, we've already defined the neighborhood they live in. Yeah. Did you know that?
Not really. What neighborhood do they live in?
Well, they live in a neighborhood with Teslas and electric vehicles already. Mm-hmm. They live in probably an executive neighborhood. They probably don't even own their own ladder.
Probably don't own their own ladder.
They probably already hire a landscaper or a gardener. Right. And so if you know the name of that neighborhood right now, by the way, I was in Maryland Soccerplex. I was there last year.
Where, the Frederick one in Frederick, Maryland? There's one here.
We were across from Bethesda.
Oh, okay. So down the street a ways, down the road a ways.
Okay. It was fantastic there, but it was a very well-heeled group of people there. I'm sure they weren't all from Maryland, but it was field lacrosse. My son plays.
Cool.
So we were in fraternity. Beautiful area.
Yeah, man.
But I could tell that area just around there, those guys don't own ladders.
They don't own ladders. So here's another thing that we're cruxed against is that we're from this little town, and this little town is so cute and it's growing, and the population's booming and there's new houses. But and we for our lifestyle, one of the reasons we started this company, and I think a lot of people can probably relate, is that you want to try to dictate what your lifestyle is. Like when you work for another company, that's out of your control to some extent.
Sure. Yeah.
So for example, one of the things that you could potentially control is the vicinity where you choose your clients,
Absolutely.
the where.
Yeah.
But this perfect client, and as Josh and I, my business partner, and I dial this in and talk, we do come back to it over and over. It's like neither of us want to drive down the road to Bethesda where
I get you.
But
that's okay.
You know what I'm saying though? But that's where that's at.
Yeah.
That's where that's at.
So, and I'm not particularly saying that's the neighborhood. I'm just saying that picture of that neighborhood exists for everybody listening, including for you. And so first we need to understand who those people are and understand their problems. Remember earlier I said, I need to understand my customers' problems better than they do, and they will automatically know I have the answer.
Right.
So somebody who wants an EV vehicle or already has one and wants a second, they're going to, there you go. Right.
Why not?
So let's go find the neighborhoods where people have solar installs. Let's go find a company that does solar installs and do sub work for them. There's so many ways that you can define that neighborhood. And you're right. You should draw a circle around your home or your community and say, I don't really want to drive a half an hour. I don't really want to drive 2 hours. Now, if that doesn't line up with what you do,
it is what it is.
It kind of is what it is, but we could probably still find some cracks in the darkness.
Yeah. There are, and like I said, so we're just north of that area that you mentioned by maybe half an hour, and so the sprawl doesn't stop. It's all one space. So technically, it's all the same, but we are on the further tip out where it is more rural. It is less Bethesda as far as the clientele might be.
Okay, but if it's rural,
but it's growing.
So what do rural clients need? Do you have dairy farms out there? Do you have swine farms or poultry?
We do. Maryland is has a huge equestrian population, but horse
people don't have any money. That's the problem.
No, I know. Well, they do, but that barn project that we got ourselves into was an equestrian scenario, and we ended up doing the entire barn that they installed, and I mean it ended up being we ended up like rebounding, and like the clients loved us, and we have formed a great relationship with them moving forward, which is awesome. They saw us struggling, and we didn't quit, and we kept going, and they were like, these guys are all right. Anyway, but that was an equestrian scenario, so it does exist. It's definitely a client.
Yeah.
And
I'm not knocking. If you were to go do that again, you'd probably sub that out to a trenching contractor and just mark that up.
It's on that page, probably this long, of lessons that we learned from that one experience. It was a hell of a lesson machine for sure.
Yeah.
But I think some of it too, though, is that we're just small, and it's myself and my business partner. We're both master electricians, and we have one apprentice.
Sure.
And, we're starting to have the conversation of like, well, what if because we have a mentor that we work with and have just started doing so, who is
good.
He owns a HVAC company in town, and we've done sub work for them in the past, but we couldn't really keep up with the rest of our clients. However, and he still has that problem that needs to be solved. We could allocate a truck, right? So if we could grow a little bit and find those ways to I think that's a potential opportunity,
Yeah. With a strategic alliance like that or a partnership. Because you're in the early days of your business.
Yeah.
One of can I make a suggestion? And it's just a suggestion.
Of course.
And it's kind of an ignorant suggestion because I don't know everything about your company.
Yeah.
But when I go to look at building a business, one of the challenges for almost all trades contractors is something that we can overcome if we think about it first. And you're right on the cusp of it. And it's finding recurring revenue.
Yeah.
It's finding somebody that's willing to pay us on a regular ongoing basis for some sort of work. And so HVAC is actually exempt from this definition, because as soon as you install a hot water tank or do some, sort of the electrical work in the heating, ventilation world, refrigeration, you're going to go back for service work. So they've got service contracts built into the expectation. Many of us don't. In electrical, there's service contracts available if you go down the path of generators.
Generators. I worked for a company for 3 years that just did generators. So I watched his model and I was like, this dude's model is insane. Like it's a money machine. But once again, you step into that realm of like, it's just not like for me as the technician and watching the teams deal with it was cumbersome. You need a lot of inventory. It just wasn't a model that we've talked about a little bit about things that didn't work for us, but the things that have worked for us
Right.
is our size and is our, like, we have almost no overhead at this point. And that has worked for us. Sure. And so when I look at models like that are like overhead heavy, he's doing great. He's not. I don't think he's in any danger. This model is great. And anytime it storms, his phones are going bananas.
That's right.
So he's just raking money in. But it's not the headache I want. Like sure. Those days when you come in and everybody's frantic because all the generators aren't working. That anyway. I just was like, what? But I saw it, and I saw that recurring.
So
it's smart.
That's okay. So, and this is a good conversation that we're having. By the way, everybody listening, we've forgotten about you right now.
Sorry, guys.
No, this is good. So, but think about the recurring revenue model because it can appear in a lot of ways. So, if the generator business doesn't appeal to you for whatever reason, and it's your company, you get to, it's your bat and your ball. You get to say what we're going to play, right? You make the rules,
right?
But there's other opportunities to have recurring revenue.
Okay.
And if you like residential work and you guys like being a two-man crew and you like being sort of local to where you are, I want to ask this as a coaching question. What are the other opportunities to get recurring work that would allow you to have that consistency in your business?
It's a good question. I think that some of the smart home systems offer some sort of availability of that sort of thing. I don't know though. It's a really good question.
Yeah. Can I give you one?
Please.
Can I just give you one? And again, you can say no, or you can just consider it, but just as long as it rolls around in your head. So I like to think of these as a hot marble. It's like a piece of glass, a hot piece of glass. Pop it in your ear and it's supposed to roll around and cause some bruising and some burning.
Perfect.
But property managers are always looking for somebody to do little stuff.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find a company who you can rely on, who will show up, who's two guys where I could talk to the owner and not get dispatched to some kid who doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the rental market is where you are, but finding the property manager who runs that 12 townhouse complex and that little apartment building, they're looking for you as we speak.
Right.
And they're like, we can't find a guy to just fix the fire alarm. Or, I don't know what the zoning is or the licensing for that is in Maryland, but you know what I mean? So you might say, well, we're not going to do it on a product like generators. You might say, we might do it on a demographic like property managers or another demographic like people that own barns for equestrian, because you then become a specialist in, the systems for taking care of livestock. But there's opportunities there. You just have to really go search it out, and it has to match up with your lifestyle and what you want.
Yeah, I like that. I love the way that you're talking. I love those ideas because it fits right in line with the lifestyle design marketing too, where you're just like, what are you into? Well, you definitely need electricity for that.
More and more.
More and more.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
So think about a progressive property manager or building owner who's like, you know what, we should get ready for the future. Maybe we should install charging stations here, which then would allow them to increase rent, but also attract a higher quality of tenant. And now you've got, 10 EV stations to put in instead of one.
Right.
Now I'm really selling it. But unless we go search for it, it'll never happen.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I think we've realized that too in a lot of ways. You've got to be your own advocate. You've got to reach out. And, I think tradespeople in general we're not great at that. We're not great at, reaching out and being like, hey, what do you think of this idea? I don't
do you want me to put a really fine point on this for you? I'm going to wrap everything. What do you call it in comedy? I think this is a callback.
A callback. Sure.
I'm about to do a callback.
All right.
You're a Marine.
Yeah.
Thank you first.
Sure.
Well, you fought for our right to be able to call anybody we want and ask any question we want. A lot of countries, you can't do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good
And
point,
so
man.
you put on that uniform so the rest of us could. So thank you again.
Yeah, sure.
But
Yeah.
there's nobody that can stop you from knocking on the door of a property manager or an equestrian facility
Yeah,
or
of
a swine
course.
facility and just saying,
Sure.
I'm really good at the operational controls here. Here's
Yeah.
my business card. Call me when you need me. And they'll say,
Cool.
we got a guy. Sure you do.
Right on. Cool. Yeah.
Here's 2 of my cards.
Yeah. Got it.
Because eventually you're going to get the phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the question really is, it's so funny because like you just work so long in the trades doing a specific type of thing. And on the residential side, it tends to be certain things, right? It's like, but it's because you're not saying, well, we don't do that. We just do this, right? We just focus on, like, there's a team out here that I see in our area that just does lightning protection. I don't know that they're electricians. I don't know what the qualifications need to be for that, but to just offer lightning protection for roofs, very specialized.
Yeah.
So they're probably super busy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know because I've never gone to buy lightning protection for my roof. I don't know what you do.
I don't know. It's a barn thing for sure. So in this area, I'll bet they're doing.
Are there bylaws related to that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a path to ground for a metal roof. So for like barns and I worked once upon a time on a backyard gazebo that when I got there, they told me they were not supposed to have because power lines ran across their backyard, like high power lines,
right,
high
voltage
wires.
Yeah.
And when you would get close to the top on the inside, it would shock you.
Oh no.
That if you would come in contact with the tin roof, it would get you. Okay. So it was like sitting there just conducting electricity,
like ambient electricity.
That's right.
So all of these opportunities are really good because you're not short on opportunity. That's the problem, actually.
Right.
Is we're not short on opportunity.
It is the problem. It's so the problem.
And and it becomes the focus. So, let me allow me to just put some suggestions out there only so that you can start to see that, you already mentioned this lightning specialist company. And I'll be honest, I've never heard of that particular subtrade, but I haven't heard of everything. I thought every time I think I've heard of everything, I have not heard of everything. But,
me either.
The one of the trades that listens to this show a lot is renovators, home renovators.
Okay. All right.
And they have a real hard time finding guys that can come in and do the sub work on a kitchen or a bathroom remodel.
Yeah.
And if you guys are really good at that, then your job now is to go find the guys that are doing high-end kitchen and bathroom models, and you're giving me either the yes or the no on that.
It's another thing that's the hard part is like finding the right contractor to work with is just like finding the right electric team to work with. It's like it's like a glass slipper.
Do you know what? And that's good news. I'm glad it's hard. You know why it's good? Because the other schlubs ain't going to do it.
Yeah. Well, there's also there's so many, my business partner and I have worked with so many various teams, and there's so many look, I think no matter what the path, it's full of briar patches. You just got to pick the one that you really want to do. And so there's nothing wrong with most of the people that I reach out to talk to about this say, get a contract, work with a contract. And we have worked with a few. And I'm not against it. It's just that the complications are scheduling primarily. Like when you've got other clients and then you're also working with a contractor, you're on their schedule. And there's this, when you're small, you can just end up working some real long days because it's just everything overlaps.
Okay, good.
That can be tricky. And then if you don't find the team that does the best quality work, you're lumped in. It doesn't matter what kind of quality work you do because you're lumped in with. So it is, and I'm sure contractors feel exactly the same about every subcontractor. It's like trying to find the right team that cares. By the way, that I appreciate you saying that because it's an accurate observation because I hear the same thing. Yeah. From the renovators or the GCs. Sure. It's hard.
But the fact that it's hard is an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Because all the other guys, all the lesser guys, are not going to do it.
Yeah, it's true. So, or they're going to do it, and the contractor's not going to work with them for very much longer, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Because there's all sorts of contractors out there. Just because they've just won a recent building or renovations award doesn't mean they're the greatest contractor around. It means they applied for a contest and they did well.
Yeah.
So, but it's a matter of trial and error and going to test it.
Okay.
Let's go back to the things you guys did right. So let's just say that I'm here in the Pacific Northwest and I want to start
Yeah.
an electrical company and I'm a
Okay.
master electrician and I'm just
Sure.
starting out. Give me your top tips for getting started and doing it right.
Um, that's a great question. I think that the beauty of being in the trades, the beauty of having a skill is that it can be broken down as simply as sell what you know. So like if it can be that easy. You just have to have a few things. You've obviously, if you're working for another company and you've been in the trades for long enough to have a license to where you could go out on your own, you've got tools. So that's
Yeah.
check. When we started our company, we already had tools. We bought a couple, but it was all set. The one thing we invested in was a van.
Mm.
I ended up purchasing a Tacoma from a friend of mine whose father used it for his company. He had some sort of alarm systems company for years.
Oh,
It was in great shape, and I bought it for a great price from him. So we did well there. So the concept was just as minimal overhead as possible. So we built our own website, Squarespace, Wix, you name it, WordPress. There's all kinds of. It's not, if you're a little techie, you can build a website these
yeah.
days.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So you don't, so that wasn't a big expense. We didn't have to like hire on some marketing team to do that. We learned how to crowdsource graphic design. Because we worked locally with people because we're in this cool little art community, and I was pulling my hair out trying to get anything done, and so crowdsourcing was more affordable, and it happened like that, and I was like, okay, crowdsource. So we just worked at like what all we want to do is present ourselves as who we are. We're two master electricians that really love what we do. We love people. We want to do quality installations in your home, whatever that may be, you know, as we move in and dial it in. And then we just put it out there. And so luckily, we live in an area where we do know people, and we do have, like, our community is big here. You know, Josh and I both grew up in the kind of the art. I'm a transplant here, but we all kind of had the same art community, and you just end up meeting everybody in this town. And so when we started, that was another thing too, is it's good if you're in a place where you're established as a person.
So make community, make real community connections.
It's such a big deal. It's such a big deal. Yeah. Real community connections are a big deal. Start small, start simple, and focus on quality. Just offer people, you know, a great experience. And so at least it'll get the ball rolling for me. I would also say, if you could spend the money on a bookkeeper or a, you know, like, it just, that's the one employee that we had to start was a bookkeeper, because it just is, neither of us are accountants, and that was the thing that scared us most, is like going to jail. So we're like, just keep us out of jail. I don't know how to, you know, help us understand this better and keep us out of jail. So you know, and then go slow. Like, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm just me. You do what you do, do what you want to do, but like, taking on debt, and every model's different. There's so many different models to run. Right. So obviously run the model that makes sense for you. But if you're just an independent person trying to go out on your own, it's definitely doable.
Those are great tips. And, you know, the beauty of being in the trades, and this is the same for everybody in the trades, is that the worst day is never going to be that bad, because you just go work for somebody else. Like, it's never going to not be around.
It's a fact. Yeah. I mean, and we told ourselves that going into it too. So that's another thing, is if you're a licensed electrician, say, and you want to start a business, it's not really a high risk move, because if it doesn't work out, you then have that experience. Like, for example, I was a journeyman electrician when we started the company. Josh was a master. I got my master's while we had it, but up until that point, I was a journeyman electrician. Now I'm a master electrician with 3 years of the marketing experience, the bookkeeping experience, the project management experience, the personnel. So you could take that, if all falls apart, you can take that with you anywhere, and it just keeps growing. So it's, man, it's so transferable. So
and that's excuse me, that's one of the things that I work really hard on in this show, is helping people with that mindset. It's one of the things you opened with today, is the mindset of realizing I'm a business person who just happens to be an electrician. Just happens to be a contractor, just happens to be a cabinet maker. I'm a business person, and there's a different skill set.
Yeah, it is. It totally is.
There's a different mentality. There's different everything.
Yeah. It totally is. Yeah.
This is so good. So I love it. I think we're going to wrap it there. It's excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah, really good interview. Because you and I had kind of a loosey-goosey title at first. Let's talk about what worked, what didn't.
Yeah. It's just all that's occupying my mentals. I haven't been sleeping great the last week because I'm just like the carnival at night is just like full swing. Because I'm just trying to solve problems. And it's nothing crazy. We're doing quite well, but it's just the movement to the next space. It's like, how do we feel like a clumsy trying to figure it out? We're figuring it out, but these are helpful conversations.
Good. Well, I'm glad it's a helpful conversation because it's, I want to make sure I'm adding value to you as well.
Of course.
The suggestion I have and I do this for myself and my own businesses, is I try to think up.
Okay.
So when I'm in that situation where like my head's just in a turmoil about this thing, try to think above that, or you might call it root cause analysis. What are we trying to accomplish? Why are we talking about this? What's consistent, and then just keep moving up in the conversation in my mind, and get to the point where I go, you know what, it's the wrong customer.
Yeah.
And the customer's not bad. They just are who they are. They're going to be that tomorrow.
Sure.
For the next guy.
They're just not our customer.
Right.
Yeah.
But I got the wrong customer. So really, I have to go get a better customer. So, okay, hold on a second. Where do I get a better customer? Well, my best customers are here and they look like this. So how do I get more of those customers? And suddenly we're out of the problem where we've got a bad customer we're dealing with. We got to get through that. We got to finish the install, get the billing, get paid. But now I know, okay, don't take that customer anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go find a better customer. So it really has now become, in this case, a marketing question or an operations question or a hiring question.
Right. That's good. I like that.
So move up. Try to move up.
Yeah, I love it. Another thing I noticed real quick is that when I'm busy and I'm in it and I'm really immersing myself and I'm reading and I'm every time I hit a problem, I just start digging into it. But then there comes a point where I need space from it because I'm so immersed in it that I don't even know what day it is. Like I felt that way when I woke up today. I was like, what is today? What is it? Oh, is it Thursday today? Because I'm just so in my mind, and like I took a walk today because I needed some space.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing helps too. Then the creative side of your brain wakes up a little bit, and it can kind of filter in solutions.
To do that.
Yeah.
It's hey, do you want to make $5?
I guess so.
What a weird transition. I think half the people listening to the show know where I'm going to go with this, but it's a challenge that I put out to everybody listening to the show.
Has anybody just said no? They've just been like, no, I don't.
$5? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Yeah.
No, the reason I say that is because you struck on something really important.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, one of the places this first occurred to me is I went and talked to a guy who had a glass recycling business, and the sound of breaking glass all day in his shop, all day. And one of the things he said to me just casually, he's like, I find it really hard to concentrate. And I'm like, do you think so? And this was years ago. And so I've come to the point in my coaching, and even in my, not just coaching others, but for myself as well. Sometimes I need to get out of my office. Yeah. I need to change my environment. And so this is the $5. This is where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Leave the office, go to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Put in your headphones. Order a coffee, face the wall so that somebody doesn't walk by. You're in a great community, art community. If you sit down and you face outward, people are going, hey, how are you?
It's over. Yeah, I'll be there for an hour.
Face the wall, headphones in so people don't bug you, and just sit there and write or think, because the highest value work that we can do as business owners is thinking.
Yeah.
We're now beyond the tools, and nothing wrong with the tools. I'm on the tools. You're on the tools. I'm less on I'm not, my tools are different now, but I started on the tools too. Yeah. But now I get paid from the neck up.
Yeah.
And so do you. So take that time to go for a walk or to go to a coffee shop. And so the $5 is if you take a picture of yourself working on your strategy with a coffee, then I send you a $5 Amazon gift card. So I want to buy your coffee. That's the point. And anybody listening, that goes for you too.
Oh, all right. I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll do it. That's a great idea. I do try to make those, even if I'll get up early just to have space sometimes, just to have quiet.
Just the beauty of quiet.
Yes.
Before
all day long.
Awake.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And to quiet my brain, because that thing is just relentless.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's start to move towards the close here, but I'll tell you one of the cutest things. You have daughters, right? Or you have
how many? I have two. I have two daughters. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my daughter is a competitive swimmer,
Okay.
which, when we put her in it, we thought, well, we don't want to put our kids in hockey because it's early. I don't want to be at the
Yeah.
rink early. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't really look into it, but swimming's early too. So
Oh yeah.
we blew ourselves up on that. But one day she goes to me, Daddy, you know what I like best about the mornings? And I'm like, anything you say, honey, I'm going to love. She goes, nobody's used the air yet.
That's genius. I
And I'm
love
like,
that.
okay, well, that's a good way to look at it. Nobody's used the
Yeah.
air yet. She's like, oh, it smells so good. Nobody's used the air
Nobody's
yet.
used it yet. That's hilarious. Oh, that's so
Anyways,
funny. I love
yeah,
that.
cute things kids say.
Yeah.
Doug, if somebody wants to find you in this big wide world, or we want to hear your podcast, and I think
Mhm.
you've got do you have a YouTube channel as well?
We do. Yeah. We've got the podcast is Modern Electrician. So if you just go to YouTube, search Modern Electrician Podcast, we've got we just switched over to a video format. So we're offering video conversations. We were just doing it audio for a while.
Right.
You can obviously listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts, same title. Yeah, check it out. And also our electric company is Lumen Brothers Electric Company. And yeah, we've got a YouTube channel that's designed. We're starting to design the YouTube channel for our clientele to kind of help them understand better how we do our processes, things like that. So we're working on that sort of stuff too. It's just trying to get it all done. But yeah, lumenbrotherselectric.com. There's so much to do, so much to learn. Every time I hit a new point, I'm just like, oh, geez, here we go. Got to learn.
Imagine the alternative though, if you were done learning, done growing.
Just dead. Just be dead.
Dead inside. Yeah. Okay. So we've got Modern Electrician Podcast and Modern Electrician Podcast on YouTube.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. I hope I've qualified to be a guest on your show. Am I still in?
Of course. Yeah, let's do it, man. I think you could offer our audience a lot of help for sure.
Sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right. Thank you very much, Doug. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Don. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye. Well, Mr. Doug Powell from Lumen Brothers Electric. And let me just say now, Modern Electrician Podcast. Thanks very much for being a guest on the show. I appreciated you sharing, opening the kimono on the growth that you and Josh have had and the challenges you're facing, the opportunities you've seen, et cetera, because as you probably know, you're not alone. None of us are alone. We're all going through those same challenges. You can either ignore them or you can deal with them. And thankfully, you're dealing with them face to face, and as is everybody else on the show. So a thank you from all of us to you. Towards the end of the show there, I asked Doug what his top tips were for somebody who was starting out in their own business. And as you can see, this doesn't matter if you're an electrician or a plumber or a roofer, HVAC tech, cabinet maker, these are valid no matter what. But let me go through them again. Sell what you know. So that really goes back to the quality. Be confident in what you do, sell what you know. He kept his overheads very minimal. Absolutely, I agree with that. Keep your overheads to a minimum. There's something that those of you who've read the book Construction Millionaire Secrets will recognize that in there we've got something called the two-finger MBA. If you've never gotten your MBA at university, for some people they think that's a limiting factor for growing a business. I don't have an MBA, and I've bought and sold more companies than most guys because I have a two-finger MBA. So you hold up the two fingers. My two fingers are kind of the same size. I better choose carefully which fingers I've got. The two-finger MBA is, your taller finger is keep your sales high and keep your expenses low. There you go, my friend. You now have your MBA. You have a two-finger MBA. That's all you need. The rest of it's all just window dressing, really. So keep your overheads minimal. They did things like having a do-it-yourself website. Great place to start. They're working really hard, as you can see, on defining that ideal customer, which you keep hearing me talk about on the show. So there must be something in there. Built their community connections, which seems to have helped them, and focus on quality, which again goes back to item number one, I think, sell what you know, but focus on quality. Make quality your calling card. Don't be a sloppy kind of person. Those referrals that you get are very valuable, but the referrals you never get, the negative referrals, are damaging. So when somebody's having a cocktail party or having beers over the fence, and they're like, hey, how was your roofer? How was your electrician? You never want to use that guy. Well, that's hard to overcome. It's very expensive to have bad mojo in the market. You want to have quality as your calling card. And then the final thing that he said here is we hired a bookkeeper. And that's an excellent observation. I'm glad they did that. And maybe you need to hire a bookkeeper as well. Or if you've got a family member or a friend doing it for you, it might be time to say, thank you. We appreciate all the help you've given us. We're going to set you free and we're going to get a different bookkeeper. And that's valuable as well. All right, folks, thanks for checking in. Listen, the next portion of the episode is questions and answers with Dom, where you get to ask questions and I get to answer them. So we'll see you there. Hi, everyone. For today's questions and answers with Dom, we're going to be taking a question from the Contractor Strategy Group. It was a question that we had about meetings that actually we posed. And I want to tell you what the poll returned. We got votes from everybody. 130 people looked at this post and we got 14 votes, which is, interesting. We got like a 10% vote rate. But I want to tell you what people talked about when they looked at meetings and how to make them better in the company. So let's use that as our question and answer for Dom. If you want to leave questions and answers with Dom, just go to speakpipe.com/ask Dom and leave your question there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Questions and Answers with Dom. Today, we're answering a question that actually we asked ourselves on the Contractor Strategy Group. I'm waiting for you guys to ask questions. You already heard me in the preview of this saying how you can get your question answered. Go to speakpipe.com/ask Dom. Just leave your question there. But if you don't do that, I'm going to take the questions from other places. The reason I changed to this format instead of doing story time with Dom is because I've done about 300 story time with Doms. I host 2 different podcast shows, both of them for the construction industry. But at a certain point, I felt like I was rehashing some of the same stories or observations. And I wanted to get to the point where we were adding more value to the listeners. That's always the key here, is how do we add more value in the most effective way? And so we decided, we sat down, put on the board a whole bunch of ideas. We decided, well, let's answer questions that people really have. And so that's why we created this format. So please take advantage of it. If you have a question, if you've got something that's frustrating you, shoot me a message or leave it in the Contractor Strategy Group, but find a way to get it to me and I'll find a way to get it on the podcast. So the question that we posed, which was meetings. Do you wish you never had one again? So that's option A. Option B, meetings. Do you wish you had better, shorter ones? Meetings. Do you wish you had stand-up meetings with an objective and agenda sent ahead of time? Or this was an option added by somebody else, by Barry Thomas. Thank you, Barry. Meetings. Do you wish you had them catered with multiple dietary options and massages at the end? And he got a couple of votes on that one, which is awesome. But I'll tell you the one that got the highest votes is something that Rick Patak added in. 78% of people said they wish they could have meetings that were stand-up, so where you're standing up with an objective and an agenda sent ahead of time. 14% of the people wished they had better, shorter meetings. And look, I understand that meetings suck. Meetings can suck, especially if you run sucky meetings. So let's figure out how to not have meetings that suck. Rick brought up a great point. Have a stand-up meeting. So that means everybody's there and they're present. They're not lounging back in their chairs with an objective and an agenda. Meetings are for making decisions. I learned that from one of my clients who runs a large HVAC software company. Her name is Danielle Putnam. You've heard her on the show many times before. She says, look, meetings are for making decisions. We're not messing around here. And she runs a very large and successful HVAC software company. She understands the importance of having great meetings. So I want to tell you how to set up an agenda for these meetings. And I'm going to tell you the agenda for your very next meeting and the meeting you will have 2 generations from now in 100 years. And you might go, hey, Rubino, how the heck can you do that? It's because the agenda doesn't change. That's why we can do that. And I'll show you how to make this come to life. So if you have a pen and paper handy, start writing these down. If I'm talking too fast, I'll say it a couple times. Slow the episode down or stop the episode so you can write down the following 5 headings. This is the agenda for any meeting that you have. The agenda for any meeting that you have. It's your job running the meeting to make sure it stays on track and on time. The agenda I'm going to show you with 5 points. Let's say you've got a crew of 20 people. So a 20-person crew plus you can get through everything you need to get through in this meeting for 20 people in about 12 minutes. I know some of you are like, what? What's this guy on? Yeah. But you got to be running this thing like a real meeting. You got to take it seriously, so they take it seriously. It's going to take some practice, but you can get that meeting down to 12 minutes. Will there be side conversations? Absolutely. Is this a production meeting where we're talking about the Hernandez bridge overpass that we're building, and it's going to take a lot of looking at drawings and estimates and plans? No, it's not that meeting. Those ones can be longer, but we can still keep them shorter as short as possible if we follow the following 5-point agenda template. So this is the agenda you can use for your next meeting or the meeting 2 generations from now when one of your kids takes over this business at the end of 100 years. This is the agenda. Agenda point number 1. Hi, everybody. How are you? Agenda point number 2, numbers. I'll get back to that in a second. Agenda point number 2, numbers. Agenda point number 3, updates. Agenda point number 4, where are you stuck? Agenda point number 5, who will do what by when? That's it. That's the standing agenda for every meeting. Hi, how are you is number 1. Number 2 is numbers. Number 3 is update. Sometimes we call it what's up, but it's just update. Tell me what's going on. Number 4 is where are you stuck? And then who's going to do what by when? And so when we go through the meeting like that, it's going to happen in round robin fashion. So let's say I'm standing at the front of the room near the whiteboard. I'm going to say, hi, everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the crew. Today we're working on the Hernandez job, whatever that might be, whether it's residential, commercial, civil, industrial, doesn't matter. We're doing the Hernandez job, right? Then I'm going to get to the numbers. Now the numbers are preset. What numbers I want, everybody in the audience already knows. And I've got a whiteboard behind me that says what the number categories are going to be. And so this is all you're going to hear if you're listening from the outside. I'll point to the first person and they're going to say 7, 12, 23, 9. You say, thank you. And you write that down. You go to the next person, they'll say 1, 100, 4, 16%. And you'll say, thank you. You go to the next person and they'll say 72, 635,000, 412,000, 0, 0, 3. And you'll go, thank you, and write those in. And so you'll go around the room. Everybody that has to report numbers in that meeting is going to report the numbers. Just a little quick side tip. If I'm asking people for numbers and they start telling me stories, the big red flashing light goes on. They are telling me BS. I don't want BS. I want numbers. We can get to the BS later. Don't get me wrong. I can spin BS like the rest of them. I just want the numbers during the number portion. You can get through all of those people very, very quickly because next section, after we've gathered the numbers and everybody can hear the numbers and everybody can see the numbers going up on the board, we all know operating the company what those numbers mean to a lesser or greater extent. Then we can say, hey, give me an update. And I go back to the same people in round robin fashion. Give me an update in 30 seconds or less. What's going on in your department? And let's say it's the custom finishing department. Great. Give me an update what's going on in your department, and it's the custom excavation department. Great. Give me an update what's going on over here in custom masonry. Excellent. Tell me what's going on over here in land development. Great. And so in 30 seconds, the land development group will say, you put a purchase in on a new lot that we should be able to subdivide into 3. If we get this, we'll be able to put up that 9 townhome complex that we're working on. Or they'll say, hey, we got the approval to use the elevator at the new condo that we're working on. It's locked out all day long, but we do have an opening between 12 and 1. It doesn't matter what the update is, but they've got 30 seconds to give you the update from their department, right? Then I go, where are you stuck? And guess what? I go round robin around the room again. Everybody says in 30 seconds or less where they're stuck. And then, because side conversations have popped up during this, I'm no dummy. Side conversations pop up. Jenny wants to talk to Jim. Jim's got a question for George. Okay, so I'll say, Jenny and Jim, let's not interrupt this meeting right now. Can you guys meet immediately after this and get that sorted out? Great. And then I'll say, Jim and George, can you meet immediately after that and get this thing sorted out immediately after this meeting? But I don't have to hold the other 19 people listening. That meeting's a separate meeting. They're just talking about one specific thing. That, my friends, is how you have better meetings. And Rick Patak added this question in there. Meetings. Do you wish you could have stand-up meetings with objectives and agendas sent in ahead of time? There it is, folks. 78% of you voted for that. Anyways, thank you so much for checking into questions and answers with Dom. I appreciate it very much so. And again, please, if you have questions and you want answers, go to speakpipe.com/ask Dom. Leave your question there and we'll answer it here. Thanks, folks.